And now we have Eelektross. I mean, that's not really a Halloween Pokemon, but it's still kind of scary looking, so whatever. This electric eel slithered into being in the 5th generation, with a great design many had been waiting for. Those who played Black and White 1 and Black and White 2 in-game will remember it as a member of Ghetsis' team. Now, it wasn't his Hydreigon, but it was quite dangerous in its own right. Today, we'll be going over how Eelektross fared in the competitive scene. And so we ask, how good was Eelektross actually? And in this video, we'll be going over these competitive formats. Upon Gen 5's release, Eelektross received a significant amount of hype, as it was an electric type with Levitate and no secondary typing, meaning that it effectively had no weaknesses. Well, outside of odd circumstances involving Gravity, Smackdown, or Iron Ball, at least. Anyway, its typing and ability combination wasn't the only hype-worthy thing Eelektross had going for it. In addition to a solid special attack stat, it also had tremendous coverage options in Flamethrower and its choice of grass move in either Grass Knot or Giga Drain. This meant that unlike other electric types, it was never hamstrung by its lack of coverage. It could still run HP Ice in the last slot and hit an incredible amount of Pokemon super effectively. Its move pool didn't stop there either. It could also maintain momentum with Volt Switch or even U-Turn if it didn't want to predict around ground types. U-Turn actually hit decently hard thanks to Eelektross's attack stat actually being higher than its special attack. However, as nice as these traits were, they were not enough for Eelektross to leave any sort of significant impact on OU. Its defensive utility was mediocre between its average bulk and lack of useful resist. It was extremely slow, and as a whole, it couldn't hope to match the all-around excellence of Rotom Wash or the offensive menace of Thundurus. Eelektross's low speed and comparatively low power meant it couldn't keep up with Zapdos and Raikou in UU either, and it had similar issues in RU, given the presence of Rotom, Rotom-Mow, and Manectric. However, in NU, it finally hit its stride. It was able to threaten a vast majority of the tier, including several of the most common defensive Pokemon, most notably Alomomola and Mandibuzz, with just its stab Thunderbolt, while common electric resists and immunes like Rotom Frost and Golem would drop to Flamethrower and Giga Drain respectively. The power of the many super effective hits Eelektross dished out was dialed up further by Expert Belt. Alternatively, it could opt for choice specs to run down brutal Thunderbolts that cut through neutral targets like Kangaskhan. As a result, pretty much everything besides Musharna and Audino was threatened. However, this leads us to another one of Eelektross's terrific traits. In addition to posing a significant threat in its own right, it was also excellent at enabling its teammates via Volt Switch. For example, it could Volt Switch out of Musharna for an easy trap with Skunk Tank, opening up another teammate like Girder or Sock. These two fighting types also abused Audino. Eviolite Roselia could also tank its hits decently, initially at least, but Eelektross could Volt Switch out of it and bring in Charizard for free, which no team enjoyed. Eelektross also had some useful defensive utility. It staved off the incredibly dangerous bulk up Braviary and was quite solid against Rotom Fan. Eelektross had some other options such as Coil Drain Punch variants that could potentially sweep, but the all-out special sets were the most consistent. In summary, it was able to threaten nearly the entire tier, with several options for doing so between coverage, power or the enabling of its teammates, and even packing some useful defensive utility to boot. It was always great when an offensive Pokemon could provide more than just power. As such, Eelektross was an absolutely excellent Pokemon in Gen 5 NU. Eelektross's 1 year in the VGC spotlight was its debut in 2011, where a chance intersection of its unique traits gave it a chance to shine in the very limited Unova Dex format. Eelektross's pure electric typing and Levitate might make you think of Disquake immediately, and sure, Eelektross could nominally run a Zapdos doppelganger set in that vein, but that didn't really justify using it. One asset in Eelektross's favor was that its typing also meant it had a semi-favorable matchup against the ever-present Genies, with all three Genies completely unable to hit it neutrally with their stab attacks. However, Eelektross's true power came from another typing entirely: flying. Eelektross's colossal move pool was usually highlighted on the special side, but it also meant it was one of the few viable Pokemon with access to acrobatics. In Gen 5, flying gem boosted acrobatics was an absolute nightmare, especially for one of the prime suspects in the VGC metagame, Scrafty. Trista Ryuzaki Medine showed just how effective Eelektross could be in removing Scrafty en route to her victory at the Dallas Regionals. Trista's team was built around bulky, slow mons that could still pack a punch: Musharna, Bisharp, Druddigon, Bakugan, Terrakion, and Thunderous. The team was designed around being as fast as possible to pick up niche outspeeds and KOs on unsuspecting mons. For example, her Masharna outsped Conkeldurr to give them a nasty surprise. Trista's Flying Gem acrobatics Eelektross fit perfectly into that archetype. It was great Scrafty removal, and its coverage of Thunderbolt and Grass Knot helped patch up other holes in her team. Trista would go on to use the same team, albeit with a Scrafty of her own, to place 9th at the 2011 Worlds, modifying her Eelektross to run Spark instead of Thunderbolt once she realized it did more damage to Jellicent. However, that wasn't even the Eel's best placing that year, or its second best. The Italian duo of Francesco Pardini and Matteo Gini took 7th and 2nd respectively, with their identical lineup of Thunderous, Tornadus, Scrafty, Crocodile, and Rivalry Haxorus. Just like Rivalry Haxorus, a metagame call designed specifically to handle the male-locked genies, Eelektross was an anti-meta pick that paid off in spades for the Italians. They went all in on its ability to handle the genies, giving it a life orb as well as flamethrower and HP ice. This ensures Eelektross could one-hit KO Landorus and Tornadus while still dealing heavy damage to Thunderous. With their anti-genie measures in place, the Italians could use the standard rest of their core to do work, and that strategy carried Matteo all the way to the finals until he fell to Ray Rizzle's own anti-metagame tricks in the form of his unexpected bulky Eevee spreads. Of course, the expansion of the VGC decks in 2012 completely eroded any niches Eelektross had previously had, and it completely fell by the wayside, and it ended up a one-time silver medalist unlikely to ever touch the podium again. Special thanks to Trista Medin, aka Ryuzaki VGC, for the information. You can follow her at her Twitter on screen. Generation 6 buffing knockoff and adding Assault Vest were huge boons for Eelektross, expanding its offensive and defensive utility alike. While these buffs didn't seem like that much of an improvement, they were significant enough for Eelektross to land in RU this time around. It became a veritable Swiss Army knife of a Pokemon, weaving in and out of battle, taking various special hits like those of Rotombo and Sigilift, crippling opposing walls like Aromatisse and Registeel by ridding them of their leftovers, and maintaining momentum and providing free switch-ins for its teammates with Volt Switch. Eelektross's faster, more offensive teammates, such as Medicham and Mega Glalie, loved the safe switch-in they were provided through Eelektross's Volt Switch, as well as the prospect of attacking against teams with lessened defensive integrity thanks to Knockoff. Knockoff was more than just item removal though. In conjunction with the Assault Vest special defense boost, it turned Eelektross into a terrific check to substitute Combine Meloetta. By also finding its way in against and threatening common walls in Slowking and Jellicent, it was assured that no matter the matchup, Eelektross would be useful in some way. It took crucial hits against offense, and it helped its teammates slice through defense. It wasn't a flashy Pokemon that dominated the metagame, but it was a reliable one. The fact that it was previously NU and didn't drop to it again was a testament to that. Overall, ORAS RU Eelektross was a good Pokemon. As a result of Gen 7's power creep, Eelektross got knocked down to PU. However, it was quite thankful for this, as it absolutely dominated the tier. It was so good that many of the best players believed it was a handicap to not run Eelektross on one's team. And the best answer was usually one's own Eelektross, which wasn't exactly a great answer. Very often, Eelektross would be the best lead on both sides. They would then exchange knockoffs and hope their Volt Switch was slower so they could maintain a switch advantage. They even often dropped their speed IVs in an attempt to outslow each other. Its knockoff was terrific, as it threatened leftovers, pinch recovery berries, Eviolites, so basically everything except Z Crystals, and most Pokemon packing Z Crystals were offensive Pokemon like Victreebel, and thus were not exactly thrilled about the idea of switching into Eelektross's attacks. Speaking of its attacks, Eelektross's Volt Switch was terrific at maintaining momentum because only grounds could block it, and grounds like Torterra and Mudsdale hated losing their recovery items, as well as the Flamethrower Giga Drain coverage that Eelektross packed. Plus, it wasn't like those grounds could even really threaten Eelektross even if they did manage to predict correctly and block its Volt Switch. It would simply attack them afterwards. Eelektross was among the top 3 Pokemon in the tier at absolute worst, and considered by many top players to be the single best. With just one set, it was the most reliable Pokemon in the tier. It wasn't unkillable, but as long as its user kept it away from super powerful physical attackers like Kangaskhan and Stoutland, it was guaranteed to perform in every single game. We've emphasized its support antics, but but it was also a potent attacker. After all, it threatened common walls like Quillfish, Ferroseed, and Alolan Sandslash, and could thus potentially poke holes in the opposing team's defense just with its own attacks. Of course, if it couldn't do that, it would simply go with the tried and true Volt Knock combo, as it was called. There was just no way to stop its Volt Switch knockoff antics, bringing in its dangerous offensive teammates to attack a softened team. It didn't even stop there though. While the specially based Assault Vest set was the unstoppable go-to variant, Eelektross could make itself even more of a pain by going with a more physically offensive spread and running Drain Punch for a surprisingly reliable recovery, ensuring it stuck around to harass the opponent even longer, as well as making its knockoff sting quite a lot more and using U-turn as its switch move, meaning there was no chance for ground types to predict the Volt Switch and then pivot out to a different Pokemon. Eelektross could do whatever it wanted, and it did it all. It absolutely ruled Gen 7 PU. And that's it. So how good was Eelektross actually? Well, for the 3 generations it's been around, it's been in 3 different low tiers in singles. It started in NU, where it was a terrific wall breaker, and to the surprise of many, rose to RU in the following generation, taking a different approach with the bulkier, more support-oriented Assault Vest set, spamming knockoff and Volt Switch to soften up the opponent and bring its faster teammates in safely to dish out damage against crippled teams. It was a decent Pokemon in that tier and was happy to actually receive a promotion while most Pokemon around it were falling to lower depths than before. However, it was even happier in the following generation, where it dropped to PU itself, because it took its Assault Vest set and became the single best Pokemon in the metagame. It is such a fundamentally solid set that when Eelektross returns to Gen 8, expect it and its Assault Vest to dominate once again. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content, and in the comments, I want to know, what do you think about competitive Eelektross? What would you give it to have it be better in singles or in VGC? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Also, thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my crew on these social media platforms. And that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.